Please note that the views expressed on this program are those of the individuals who speak them, and not necessarily those of Portsmouth Community Radio, its Board of Trustees, members, volunteers, or underwriters. Good evening and welcome to Spirit Radio. I am your host, Willie Hassell. Along with my co-host, Lynn Nickerson, we will take you on a journey into the unknown where the paranormal becomes the normal. A journey to a world cloaked in darkness where reality becomes a thin veil. So sit back, relax, and join us as we venture into the shadows, the darkness, the unknown, and back. And good evening and welcome to Spirit Radio, the Paranormal Experience. I am your host, Willie Hassell, your gatekeeper to the dark side, your guide to the realm of the unknown, the unseen, the unthinkable. And she is the always lovely, she is the mysterious, she is Lynn Nickerson, and she is right here.
Good evening, Willie, and how are you doing?
I am doing just fine. How are you doing?
Yeah, great. It's pleasantly mild tonight.
Pleasantly mild? Yeah,
yes, yeah.
That'd be a good way to put it, I guess.
Yeah, darn near 60.
Yeah.
Very surprising.
Yes, I had a nice event here at the station last night.
Yeah, an interesting presentation.
Yeah, well, Spirit Chasers Paranormal Evidence Review.
Paranormal Evidence Review.
We did collect a pretty good sizable amount of money for the
to make
station.
A donation toward the station. Yep, that was fun.
It was good.
Yeah, and it seemed to be well received.
And you know what else is going to be fun?
Tonight.
Yes, tonight's guest. So, tonight on Spirit Radio, the Paranormal Experience, we are pleased to have returned to the show Samuel Queen. Tonight we will delve into some of the country's most haunted places as we explore true paranormal encounters at some well-known haunted institutions across the United States. Sam, along with his partner Jamie Davis, traveled to 10 of the most famous haunted places around the country to bring the reader on a first-hand journey to these spooky destinations in their book, Haunted Asylums, Prisons, and Sanatoriums. And Sam joins us tonight to continue his first-hand accounts within the walls of these truly dark institutions. So let us welcome now to Spirit Radio, Samuel Queen. Good evening, Sam.
Hello, Sam.
Hey, good morning, Lynn and Willie. How are y'all tonight?
Great. Welcome to the program again.
We're doing good. How are you doing?
Back. Doing good. I heard it's pleasantly mild up in New Hampshire tonight.
Yeah, it's like 60 degrees.
Wow.
Well, maybe 58.
I don't think it's quite that much,
maybe 58, but it's really quite nice. How about there?
I'm in Atlanta, just north of Atlanta, and we're actually, I think we hit about 80 degrees today.
Oh, my. Wow.
Show off.
Yeah, I know. Was it sunny? Was it sunny, Sam?
No, it's actually cloudy. We're expecting some rain. It was kind of humid. But you can't beat 80-degree weather at the 1st of March. So.
No, you're lucky.
Or middle of March, actually.
Don't rub it in.
Yeah,
Well, I did want to mention that I think this concept for the book is really interesting. I think it's really smart. I think it was clever of Jamie the way she approached it, because it really does serve as a travel guide. And you've got about 8 different locations. You've got Virginia, West Virginia, Texas, Iowa, Utah, Ohio, and Missouri. So that's like 6 different locations. I think it's perfect for like a weekend getaway. If someone, wants to go off and have a fun weekend somewhere, it's perfect for that. Or for a weekend ghost hunt, a public ghost hunt. So I just really like the way that she conceived of the book. I wanted to mention that again because it's just a neat concept.
Definitely. It was born out of we were actually planning on going up to Niagara Falls area for a vacation, and Jamie had been there before, and so she was kind of researching a little bit to find out some other things to do because she'd already done all the tourist stuff, and I haven't done any of that. I've never been up there before at the time, and so she was looking into it and had found out where there was an asylum in western New York, and they were actually promoting public ghost hunts.
Oh.
And we had heard of this place, and we'd seen it on television on both, I believe, the Ghost Hunters and the Ghost Adventures crew had been there. And so she asked me, she said, what do you think about doing that? Basically, it just said, you know, you can come, there'll be a large group of people, and, you know, just, I can't remember how much, it was a very nominal cost,
Mm-hmm.
and all you really need to bring is a flashlight. And so I said, sure, I mean, I would love to do something like that. So we got up there, and, you know, we did all the Niagara Falls stuff, and then we drove out down to western New York, and went into this place. And actually, it's called Rolling Hills Asylum. If you've ever heard of it.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yep.
and we had such a wonderful time there. We had one of the helpers that kind of helps with that type of an event, just to make sure that if anybody gets lost. You know, it is a fairly decent sized location, and we just kind of asked him, because we were very novice at this. We'd never done anything like this before, and so we asked him if he wouldn't mind kind of showing us around and kind of showing us ropes a little bit. And so we went and did a couple of experiments and other things, and we actually, you know, witnessed a couple of things, flashlights lighting up, you know, on command, and that type of stuff. We heard a knock on the wall and a couple of other things, and so we had more fun there doing that than we did, you know, anything else we did up in the Niagara area. And so we talked about that, you know, and more than anything else when we got back. And so Jamie kind of started looking into it and said, you know, I'm going to see if there's a book that actually lists, because at that time we had no idea that, we just thought these big abandoned buildings that these shows went to were just that, abandoned buildings that were owned by someone, and so they were just letting, you know, they just pretty much stay shuttered, you know, year round, that type of thing. But come to find out, a lot of these places that you see on television, they do offer public hunts, either private or
Right.
you know, a group of people that come in, and it's really good because most of these places put the money back into the building. A lot of these places are trying to be, they're trying to restore, the owners are, and that type of thing. And so it's a very worthwhile endeavor.
It is.
A lot of these places have a lot of history, not just, you know, for the paranormal, but just history in general. And so we thought it was a very cool thing to do. And so she was looking and wanted to see if there was a book about it, and she couldn't find one. And she had threatened to me to write books on all types of different subjects as long as I've known her. And so I thought, well, you know, she said, what if I wrote a book about this? And she goes, if I did, would you help me? And I said, sure. And so we just kind of brainstormed and come up with a concept. And so we sent it off to several publishers that publish in that type of medium and new age type things. And we got a hit with Llewellyn, and they said they thought the idea was wonderful and liked the writing sample that we submitted.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much it. And they said, you know, if you want to submit a manuscript or, you know, the writings of this, you know, they would be very, you know, we couldn't guarantee anything, but they said that, you know, if everything was done as well as we did presented, you know, what we had submitted to them, they said, I don't think there'd be any reason why we wouldn't publish a book. So we just took a leap of faith. We funded it ourselves. We went to 10 of the most haunted locations in the country. Actually, we went to a couple of extra ones. So we just kind of, we didn't know. And 10 sounded like the right kind of number. And so that's what we ended up selecting for the book. And so we went to these places. We pretty much went to them all in about a 4 or 5 month period.
Wow.
We do our day jobs during the week, and then we would travel usually on a Friday after work and get into a place and investigate it Saturday night, and then be on a plane first thing back Sunday.
Wow. Well,
So,
you guys did a real good job keeping up with the notes.
Oh yes, Jamie was very meticulous, and you know, she did a good job, and she researched every place. We would also, if they offered actual history tour of the locations, we would actually take the history tour.
Good
idea. A lot of places offer during the day, and just kind of learn about the place, and then we would take the haunted history tour later that evening, and you know, learn about, you know, what has been said to happen here, you know, hot spots, all that kind of stuff. And then we went to of course, every place we went to, we actually did our own investigation. So the book's about the history of the location, the haunted history of the location, and then what we discovered when we investigated these places.
Yeah. So you did most of your investigations on the public investigations, right?
Well, a majority of them, yes,
Yeah.
because if you wanted to rent the whole place out to yourself, it kind of
Gets costly.
Yeah, it gets
costly.
expensive, I know.
Unless
Yeah.
you've got a large group of people, 12, 15, then you kind of divide it, and it's not that bad. But it was just the two of us. So the larger locations we did on public hunts, and I was kind of worried about that because, you worry about contamination and that type of thing,
Yeah.
Especially with EVPs and that type of thing. But a lot of these places are huge.
Yeah.
And there is, areas to just kind of go by yourself, and you're not hearing other people and that type of stuff. And we did get a lot of stuff, and it just goes to show, and it kind of proved me wrong, that you can get, evidence in, you have to be careful, of course, as I said, especially with EVPs and stuff, unless you tag something or you hear somebody coughing that's, a couple of cells down from you if you're in a prison or something like that. But
yeah, you have to be aware of where everybody else is and who's around you.
Yeah. Sam?
Oh,
Did we lose you?
I'm here. I'm still
Okay,
here.
good. Okay, well, I'd kind of like to start just as a brief review. Chapter 5, you visit the Yorktown Hospital in Yorktown, Texas. And the comment was made that it was the scariest place in particular for Jamie. So could you talk to us a little bit about why that was so?
About why it was so what?
Yorktown Hospital in Texas, according to
ma'am.
Jamie, was one of the scariest places that she had been.
Yes, and it was, and I've mentioned this before. I may have mentioned it last time I was on, but me going into any of these locations, it was like I was walking into a Target or a Walmart or something like that. I got no difference, or even in my own home to walk in. I didn't feel anything. I don't get scared in that way or anything like that, and so. Most of the places we went into, I just went in like, I was, walking through an airport or, whatever you would call it. But Jamie is more sensitive and can kind of pick up on more things, which a lot of people are like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so she just got if you ever seen a photo of the place, it's it's just an abandoned hospital. It's very growed up around as far as the vegetation and that type of thing. It's almost been reclaimed back by nature. It was actually a hospital that was ran by nuns, and it had a full chapel with a confessional and everything, and included on the grounds in the hospital. And just from the outside looking at it, it was probably the creepiest looking place that we went to.
Really?
And I told her, and I mentioned in the book as well, that if it would have been like out in the middle of nowhere, I may have had a hard time trying to walk into there. But it was actually on a fairly busy road, toward the center of the town there in Texas. And but the whole time we were in there, we were led around. By the man, the caretaker of the property, and the whole time we were walking around and all, and she just kind of got the creeps, I guess is the basic term for it.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he left us, and it was just the two of us, it was getting about twilight, and the sun was setting, and she just kept. I had never seen her like that in a location that we'd done before, and she was just kind of on edge the whole time. And she mentioned several times to me that she just felt like something was breathing in her ear, that something was just meant to do her harm there. And, we heard one of our first disembodied voices. We were in the basement, kind of like in a intersection of some hallways, and both of us trying to look and see the best vantage point in case we saw anything. And we were communicating. I felt like we were communicating with something, and one of us asked, I think Jamie asked, "Are you a child?" And then just out of the darkness, we just heard a, "No!" And, that was, enough to, make your hair stand up on your back of your neck. And
was that on an EVP, Sam, or was that you heard it with your ears?
No, it was actually, we heard it with our ears.
Wow.
We picked it up on the recorder as well. And, it was, like I said, it was almost dark, and there was no kids that we knew of that were around playing in that area, and it was just, it actually sounded like it came from in the room, or down the hallway where we were at.
Yeah, and
that was one thing. And of course, just, we were doing a flashlight session up in an above level floor, second level floor. And we were asking questions, and, she was asking, are you a child? And then I believe she asked another question where it kind of gave a negative response to us. She said, I can't take it anymore. She said, this has just been too much. It's just, she just felt very oppressed, feeling of dread and that type of thing. And it was just a little bit after midnight, I believe. And she had said, let's call Mike, I believe was the caretaker's name. And she said, let him know that we're, ready to leave, and so he can lock up and everything. And so we left there, and about halfway back to the hotel, we made a point to make sure we'd always have a prayer before we started. We were very, we're religious people. And then, toward the end of the night, before we left the actual property, we would always thank. We were always very respectful. We never antagonized or provoked or anything like that. And so she would say, one of us would say, we thank you for talking to us and communicating with us and that type of thing. And but, you cannot come with us. We were respectful for you, and we would ask you to be respectful for us, and, and don't follow us, or you're not allowed to come back with us or anything like that. But we forgot to do it leaving that hospital. And, maybe just because of the mindset we were in and all that type of thing. And I tried to say something as we were driving back. But when we got back home, Jamie went to her home, and she said that she had, as usually does, she turns off all the lights before she goes to sleep. And she said she woke up in the middle of the night, and every single light in the house was on, the lamps, the overhead lights, all that type of thing. And she was chirping of the fire detectors, smoke detectors, that type of thing, and she just felt unnerved, and she finally, I think, she fell asleep. And then when she was leaving for work the next day in the garage, and she all of a sudden heard something running up to her. Just heard the footsteps just coming closer on the cement floor, and she was like, that's enough, and it really spooked her. And so she went and actually stayed with her parents a couple of nights because she was so freaked out. And so we ended up both going over there, and we just pretty much said, we just want to let you know that you're not welcome here. You need to leave, and you're not going to be paid any attention to. So you might as well just go back from where you are or where you came from. And so she never had any problems with that. Then we started getting into the evidence of what we had recorded while we were there. Several times during those EVP sessions, her name was mentioned.
Yeah.
And I think one time they said, they want Jamie.
They want Jamie,
like,
yeah.
Who wants me?
And it was an unknown female too.
Right. And it was just the whole thing was just very, like I said, it just stuck wrong with her. I didn't feel anything, but I was, concerned for her and for her well-being.
Oh,
and,
sure.
I didn't want to leave when she wanted to leave, but I was like, I'm not going to, try to make her stay here when she's feeling so uncomfortable. So we left, and we really didn't have any other type of experience like that in any of the other locations. It was only there. Not saying it was any sort of, possibly demonic activity. It may have just been a malcontented spirit or what have you. But yeah, it was just a very, very odd experience.
I bet you didn't forget next time, huh? Yeah.
What was that?
I bet you didn't forget next time to tell him not to follow you home.
Oh, no. Every time. It's a ritual with me now. I always say
that. Yeah.
And it is pretty strange to have your own name come up on an EVP. I've had it happen myself.
It is. It's disconcerting.
Yes, it already kind of gives you, when you hear an EVP, even as many times, and I'm sure that if y'all have heard it, but any time you hear it, it still gives you that adrenaline rush. And like, wow, someone actually answered me. But yeah, to say your name,
yeah,
it's personal.
It's pretty strange. I mean, that's EVPs to me is the thing that you're looking for. I mean,
the gold standard in ghost hunting.
I've always described ghost investigations as 5 or 6 hours of pure boredom, and hopefully followed by 5 seconds of adrenaline, you know.
Definitely.
And it's when you go through all that evidence and listen to all those hours and find a good EVP, that's when it was all worth it.
Jamie also had like an old hag experience too, didn't she, after she visited there?
Yes, I think she had a dream
Yeah.
of something in her room, and then she says, I believe she kind of woke up in a semi-conscious state and saw some old, like you said, a hag or some, shriveled up looking person there, and it's just that whole experience was just, and then she was actually starting having doubts about what we were doing.
Yeah,
I remember
would
talking
think
to
so.
her, and she's like, this is, and it is, and I tell people all the time, I'll talk about paranormal hauntings, apparitions all day long, and a lot of people are interested in, and it's proven by the the ratings that these shows get on television, and but I always tell people, I said, look, it's not nothing to just mess around with. It's not something for kicks or for laughs or that type of thing. You've got to be in the right mindset to do it, and it's not for everybody.
Yeah,
No.
you got to be serious and respectful about what you're doing.
You certainly do, and I think
Definitely.
you also have to protect yourself. You have to take precautions. Yeah. Some people take it just too lightly.
Definitely, and I was kind of in that mindset too, because I'd never had anything happen to me until we actually started this adventure with the going to these haunted locations, and but I'd originally started trying to mimic what I'd seen on television, so you could touch me and that type of thing. But then we ran into a paranormal group up in Virginia when we visited St. Albans. And, they were kind of talking to us and said, that would be one of the last things you want to do is to invite a spirit to touch you, because they can, lash onto you. And, it has been proven that stuff like that has happened where,
It does, yeah.
someone, it's followed around, or just, you couldn't have all kinds of different things going on.
Or try to take you
but
over.
after that, I was like, never again.
Yeah.
Have you ever been touched, Sam?
I have. It was up in Missouri State Penitentiary. We were in the death row on that cell block, and we were standing there, and we were in one of the cells, and we were the only two people. There was a guide that was kind of in the area, but as far as any other people, we were the only two people there on that block, and we were trying to make contact and try to get some sort of activity, and of course cells are very small, and I'm a pretty tall guy, and so it was kind of feeling a little claustrophobic in there, and so I kind of stepped back, and Jamie was talking, and I was just kind of looking up and down the cell block. Of course the lights are off, and there's some moonlight coming in as well as an outside light source, and just kind of looking around and seeing if I could see anything. All of a sudden I saw out of the corner of my eye, and I took a look, and there was this humongous shadow person type thing, and anytime, and I'm sure y'all in the same thing, as far as your mind starts saying, no, you're not seeing what you're seeing. It's just a trick of the light, or some sort of you're tired, or any of that type of thing. I mean, that's at least what always goes to my mind when I see something.
You try to reason it away logically.
You do, and it's you're growing when you're growing up, and especially up until recently, you're saying all that stuff is fake. That's not real. That's just bedtime stories, to scare kids and that type of thing. And so you learn just to tune stuff like that out. And it's been known that children have a lot better perception of stuff like that than adults do.
Yeah. Right.
And so I was just there thinking that I cannot be. And all of a sudden, they started walking to me. And I'm like, there's no way that this is actually happening. It's not what I'm seeing. It's just a figment of my imagination. And it walked up right next to me. It was big, barrel-chested, kind of lumbered. It was taller than me. I'm about 6'2", and it stood at least 2 or 3 inches taller than me.
Wow.
And when it actually touched me, it touched my leg. This leg touched my leg, and it is the traditional response. I mean, it was just like ice touching my leg, and it's just like all the warmth out of my left leg just left my body. And Jamie couldn't really see my facial expressions, and I'm not very that didn't really have that big of expression going anyway, because I still was trying to rationalize what it was that I was looking at. And she stopped what she was saying, and she just said, she goes, "You might think I'm crazy, but there's a big black shadow who just walked up and is standing right next to you." And I'm like, you've got to be kidding. And it just, we were just like, I said, "What side is it standing on?" She said, "It's standing on your left side." I was like, "You've got to be kidding." So, that was the only time that I know of that something actually touched me, and it did. It just felt I didn't feel like, a pressure on my leg. It was just a cold feeling. It was just, like something sucked the heat out of my leg.
So you didn't feel like you had been kicked, perhaps? It was just lack of heat.
Just lack of heat, and it was it was a fairly warm night when we were there, and there was no breeze blowing or any of that type of stuff. And it is, and still after it happened, your mind is still saying, okay,
hard to account
for. There's got to be a rational explanation for that.
You just got to trust yourself. You know at the time that you felt it, you saw it or whatever, then you try and talk yourself out of it. Well, you just got to kind of trust. Well, I did see it, and
right,
or feel it, and stick with that.
Yeah, and offer it as another personal experience.
Yeah.
Because you can't always explain these things away.
That's right. Personal experiences are definitely a big thing in paranormal.
It helps to establish cooperating evidence, I think, so they can't be dismissed.
Yeah, and when you get more involved in that, and you start I can just say, and we talked about it, and it seems like the best piece of equipment that you have is your body, is yourself.
Yep, and your intuition.
And the more you do that, it's with anything, your senses get more attuned to what to look for, what to listen for, that type of thing, and you start to notice more things than you would. Like I said, I think you just kind of turn it off when you're growing up, and it's like, that's not real, and that type of thing. You try to open that part of you back up to where you can actually, visualize and see these types of things.
You have to open yourself up.
You've been programmed since you were a kid.
Truly, it is a matter of programming.
And so you have to reprogram yourself.
Yep, cultural and emotional programming. Well, Sam, we are at the bottom of the hour. We're going to take a break again, and we're talking to Sam Queen right now, and he's a co-author of Haunted Asylums, Prisons, and Sanatoriums. And when we come back, the next location I'd like to talk about is Asylum 49 in Utah. So if you'll just hang on tight, Sam, we'll be back in just a couple of minutes, so don't go away. Supernatural Magazine, the UK's newest paranormal magazine, provides support to Spirit Radio, the Paranormal Experience. It is the magazine's goal to bring every aspect of supernatural news and research from around the world under one roof to create a universal platform for all those interested in the supernatural. More information is available at supernaturalmagazine.com. You are listening to Spirit Radio, the Paranormal Experience on WSCA 106.1 FM, and we'll be right back after this short break.
And you are listening to Spirit Radio, the Paranormal Experience, on WSCA 106.1 FM in Portsmouth's West End. And from the community calendar, the New England Parafest 2016 at the Ashworth by the Sea Hotel at Hampton Beach, New Hampshire. It's going to be Friday evening, April 8th, and all day Saturday, April 9th. And it is produced by the Essex County Ghost Project and co-sponsored by Spirit Chasers Paranormal and Visions of the Paranormal. This is the third annual New England Parafest, which will once again feature exciting speakers from all over New England area, covering all aspects of the paranormal. This year's event will be donating 50% of the proceeds to help support WSCA Portsmouth Community Radio. And more information is available online at EssexCountyGhostProject.org. And also, I want to mention, tickets are selling fast, so, get in there and get your tickets. And the next 30 tickets between now and this time next Saturday night on the program will also get a free ghost investigation either at the Haunted Hilldale Cemetery in Havel, Mass., or the Dustin Garrison House, which is also in Haverhill, Mass.
That's another historic spot.
Yes, a very historic spot, Hannah Dustin.
Yep, Hannah Dustin.
Yep. So anyway, the next 30 people to buy tickets to the Parafest will have a choice of one of those investigations, and you have some upcoming guests.
Yes. Our upcoming guest list starts with next week, of course, so it'll be Tom Spitaleri, Director of Essex County Ghost Project, and he'll be talking to us about his lineup of speakers, for the Parafest in April. March 26th, we're fortunate to get a guest on a relatively short notice. This would be Tom Carey and Don Schmidt, are authors of Children of Roswell, and that's a collection of accounts from various families of the first-hand witnesses to the aftermath of the Roswell crash in 1947. Mr. Schmidt won't be joining us this time. He's got a schedule conflict, but Tom Carey will be on the phone speaking with us about this. April 2nd, Michelle Matuzas, who's a psychic medium empath. She's going to be joining us. She's an historic reenactor. She's also a member of the Spirit Light Network out of Massachusetts. And she's releasing her own deck of tarot cards, all of which display her own artwork. So she'll be talking to us about that. And let me see, one more guest coming up on April 9th, Dean Merchant. He's a local UFO historical researcher who, along with his wife Pam, are the originators and organizers of Exeter's annual UFO Festival. He's currently researching the history of UFOs in the Exeter, New Hampshire area, as well as in the immediate New England area. And some of his research goes back to sightings as early as the 17th century here in New England. So that'll be kind of a provocative program. So we look forward to that as well. And that's our lineup.
All right, that is our lineup. And now let's go back to the phone for tonight's guest, Sam Queen. Welcome back, Sam.
Hi, Sam. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So tell us, how do you pronounce that town in Utah? Is it Tooele?
It's Tooele.
Tooele.
Right.
Okay. So there is a very active location there. It was once a hospital, and it became, I guess, renamed as Asylum 49.
Right. It's a Halloween attraction as well.
Okay. So I do know that it's got quite a history. A lot of people like to go there. I think it was Ghost Adventures went there.
Yep.
And did some work. So there's been some disturbing EVPs captured there. Insanely haunted. So would you give us a brief synopsis of what happened to you there?
Well, it was another different type of thing. We were going through the place, and Dusty, the caretaker of the place, the owner, she gave us a personal tour of it, and she said that that she doesn't want any spirit trap there. So if she feels that is the case, she will, ask for some religious person to come in and try to
clear the place.
They're not trapped.
Yeah.
Whatever that process is, I'm not actually sure. But it's just a thing to where, she wants spirits to be able to move on.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we're very respectful for that. And she just says she doesn't feel like she wants to own a place that, is just, has someone that just cannot leave. And so she says she tries everything she can to get that spirit to pass on into the afterlife. And so we went through there, and we did our investigation like we had the other places, and we got into this one area, and it was a very profound experience. We don't really feel like we were communicating with the spirit. Jamie and I are both Christians, and we felt like we were actually talking with some angelic type of being, an angel or something like that. Because the entire time we were in there, probably in that room, probably was about an hour or so. And I'm not really don't want to get into exactly what type of experience Jamie had. I know it was very moving, and it was very personal to her, so that would be up to her to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
But I just noticed while we were doing it, the EVP session and the flashlight session in that room, there was a doorway. There was no door. It was just a doorway. And I noticed these black shadows kind of darting back and forth on the outside.
Oh,
Nothing would ever come in. to me, it felt like or looked like something was keeping whatever was on the outside out and wasn't allowing it into the room. And so that just kind of gave us a little bit more credence of what we actually experienced to be something very benevolent and good, and some sort of, I said, some sort of angelic type of thing. There was a peace to the room. It was like a lot, pretty much a 180 from Yorktown Hospital.
Yeah.
We just felt like we were warm. We felt peace. We felt comfort. We felt, kind of joyfulness of, whatever we were talking to or communicating with. And that was just, I said, it was another different experience, and nothing ever like that has ever happened to me again. But I have, read reports and heard of other issues or stories where the same type of thing happened,
and that wasn't a maternity ward, right? An old maternity ward.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, and that location had been used in a couple of different movies or television shows. I think Stephen King's The Stand was filmed there, and something else is just slipping my memory right now. But yeah, it's just and of course the maternity ward, just from what it was used for, bringing life.
Yeah, bringing life in the world and protecting them.
And so, I mean, we were in a lot of places. There was death, just agony, just torture in some of these asylums, to where, not that the doctors were trying to do that on purpose to inflict pain, but
it was experimental, so they really didn't know the end result and how painful it might have been.
No,
yeah,
there was a lot of experimentation and that type of thing, and then also that tuberculosis hospital that we went to in Louisville, they would remove ribs, and they would have, we see pictures of it. They would wheel the patients out in the snow, like on, and they thought that fresh air was a good therapy for tuberculosis, and just seeing that is just it's very sad. And I mean, our medical, fortunately, has the medical profession is leaps and bounds, both for the mentally ill and just the physically ill, has just jumped in just the past 20 or 30 years when things like this would go on. And but anyway, the maternity ward is just a lot different from those other places. Some of those you just feel depressed or oppressed or sad.
Whole different feel.
Some of the prisons, but this was very joyful, and the maternity ward is supposed to be very joyful. It's babies are taking their first breaths. Have a lot of emotion. People are very emotional. Tears of joy and happiness and that type of thing. So, I don't know. It just had a different feeling, but we both feel like we were talking to some sort of angelic presence that night.
How about the mirror room? That wasn't the maternity ward, was it? Where they did some scrying? The mirror room, the mirror gazing room?
Oh, yes.
Was that a different room, or was that the maternity ward?
No, that was a different room.
A different room?
My recollection serves me, yes. It was a little bit different, but there was I don't believe there was any mirrors in the maternity room.
Okay. So did you didn't experience the mirror gazing room then, right? The scrying?
Jamie was a little freaked out at that. She, anything that, and it's kind of funny to say that we were going in there trying to get some sort of evidence of apparitions, but a lot of times Jamie, she just doesn't want to see that, just because she doesn't feel like her mind is able to handle some of that stuff, and she doesn't. Of course, she doesn't want to see any bad. Nobody wants to see anything bad or scary, or any of that stuff like that. But she just felt a little uneasy. We heard about it and we were given a story about it, but we didn't really go in there and try to do any sort of experiments in that room.
Well, how about the other thing that you had never heard about, that mirror gazing, scrying thing? How about the human pendulum? This is the second time I've heard of this. Did you try that, Sam?
We didn't. I wanted to, and I kind of, I was trying to psyche myself up to go in there and try it. But again, this is after that I thought of that I don't want to be, touched by anything. And so we just kind of left that alone. But, Jessie had told us a story about where you can kind of put your arms up in the room and, as far as yes and no answers, if something pushes you in your front, would mean one, yes or no, and then if something's pushing you on your back, could mean the opposite of that if you're asking questions or trying to make some sort of contact like that.
Yeah, Steve Parsons, he's another ghost investigator out of the UK, and he had mentioned this too, but to me there would be a large element of trickery involved, or could be, because people
Right,
could, pretend that they're moving their bodies, and I just don't think it would be a very good method to
Yes, it's not
experiment
really
with.
a good. You can't really substantiate it.
No, you can't.
You know that you're not doing it, to like you said, to kind of trick or deceive somebody else.
Right.
Yeah, it's one of those things you just wouldn't know for sure.
Yeah.
Unless
no
unless you were doing it yourself, and then you know
Yeah,
you're not.
right.
Yeah. No, really, where to verify it. Well, how about if we move on to one of Willie's favorite places,
Yes, one of my favorite places.
which is in West Virginia, the West Virginia Penitentiary in Moundsville, West Virginia.
Right.
I have been several times. So.
Well, he's done some investigations there.
And I want to go back. I got to plan another trip.
Well, you were just
It's a very
mentioning.
cool place.
It is. It's very cool. However, you just mentioned how uncomfortable Jamie felt about a lot of things being in dark places. How did
Right.
she manage to go to the penitentiary? I mean, what better place for negative energy?
Oh, definitely. And of all the three prisons we went to Mansfield in Ohio, Reformatory, went to Missouri State Pen, and Moundsville. Moundsville of the three just had an ickiness quality to it.
Don't doubt. Yeah.
I think it was called the bloodiest whatever acres in the country at one time because of the rioting.
Bloody
and
Alley
all
or
that
Hell
kind
on
of thing.
Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awful.
Definitely. And and then they were telling stories about how the death of guards, the death of the inmates, inmate on inmate violence and murder and that type of stuff. And it just has a skeeviness to it or ickiness to it.
Yeah.
And especially that place called the Sugar Shack.
Oh, I
Yeah.
know. Terrible, terrible stuff.
Yeah.
Let me just mention that Sherry Brake had written a book called The Haunted History of West Virginia Penitentiary, and she tells the story of Warden Adams at the time. He was trying to make great changes at the prison in 1958, so he contacted the Federal Bureau of Prisons for help. They sent a representative to tour the penitentiary to see what improvements could be made, and the representative gave his report, and he said, "I know only of one thing that ought to be done. You ought to call in the Air Force and bomb the place off the face of the earth."
Right.
That's how horrible that place was. So I think that gives our listening audience a good idea of what a nasty location it is.
Yeah. Well, there were 900 and something deaths, murders, suicides.
Oh,
And deaths in
Right.
the prison.
That's a
I mean, there was
lot.
only, 70-something were executions. The rest were
Right.
murders and suicides.
Oh, that's awful.
Right.
Prisoners, murdered
From my
prisoners.
understanding, there's a lot of bodies buried on the property.
Yeah, they often
Yeah,
buried
yeah.
people there in unmarked graves, marked or unmarked, depending, but usually there's a lot of dead people at prison locations.
There is a
Oh, definitely.
there is a cemetery. It's not on the prison property. It was down the street where a lot of the prisoners were buried too.
Oh, so
Yes,
obvious.
and the way I think Jamie got in there is we went and took the history tour earlier that day, and so we saw the place in the daylight, and so I think that kind of helped her go in later on that evening, and it wasn't just us two there, so there was probably about, 50 to 60 people total that were, investigating. It's a big property, as y'all know, and so I think that gives her a little bit more safety in numbers type thing, and so
Yeah.
and when we were on the day tour, there was a family with us, and they actually videotaped a shadow figure.
Oh,
And we saw that, and that's the first time I'd ever seen anything like that happen in the daytime. And so we were
Truly.
marveling at that they got some, good evidence just, as we were walking through a daytime history tour of the location. And that was pretty amazing just to see that. It wasn't no one's shadow. It was actually, you could see it just kind of walking across one of the back walls.
oh.
And that was, you said, in the kitchen area, was it?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Well, could you tell us about some of your personal experiences other than seeing somebody else's video?
Well, we had some. When Kevin walked into a problem, we kept. I think it was this location. We would, as you do with a public investigation, sometimes somebody will walk in on you, or kind of trip you up or whatever like that. And so we tried to get into another area of the building, trying to get away as far away as we could, and try to have a little bit more of privacy as we were doing our investigation. And so we were in one area, and so we were having a flashlight session, and so anyway, a group kind of walked in on us just a little bit, and just kind of looked around, and my mind was like, okay, you see people are here, can't you have a little bit better etiquette? But a lot of people are just this is their first time or whatever, and they really don't know. They're just trying to try to see something.
Yeah.
And so they finally walked away, and then I think Jamie mentioned something about. I think those people are really stupid, and all of a sudden the flashlight that we were using for yes came on too. So whoever we were communicating with said, yeah, those people are very stupid.
They were in agreement. Yeah.
Definitely. And you would, just talking about that, I was just kind of going over my notes and stuff, and of the book and the things that actually have happened to me, and. We were in one location, one of the prisons, and we had, I was asking, can you, the K2 meter, it was a gray color to it, and I asked whoever was communicating with us, they had lighted up the flashlights. I said, can you light up that gray box? And whoever we were talking to said, F you.
Really?
And, yeah, they actually used the F word on me, and it actually happened in two different locations. Both of them were prisons, so I guess had a little more saltier language than other places. But I cannot believe that I was cussed out by.
I know it by a dead person.
It's really not that uncommon. I've heard of a lot of.
Yeah, but still
EVPs,
the ultimate humiliation.
Yeah, I know it, Billy.
Sam, was that the line of interrogation where Jamie was trying to establish whether or not the prisoner was guilty of what he was accused of?
Right. That was in Mansfield, the reformatory. It was the prison that they used from a lot of exteriors.
Oh, that was Mansfield.
Redemption. One of especially most guys, that's one of their top 5 movies of all time. It's just a wonderful movie. And just to be there and to see, the areas and stuff where that film was shot, that was one of the big draws to me, as well as the paranormal stuff. But we were in a visitation area, and we had the flashlights and stuff going, and we were, had the recorder running, and so she was talking to someone, and we actually got an EVP saying Eugene Carter was the name.
Right, yeah.
And so she was asking, are you innocent? And so we kept saying that he was innocent for whatever crime that he was had committed or accused of or sentenced of, and but there's this famous line in Shawshank Redemption, I'm paraphrasing, that everyone in prison is innocent.
Is innocent, yeah. And I kind of feel like that prisoner was playing her for a fool, because then he turns around and says the F word to her. So how nice is that, and how innocent is he really?
Right. So, you don't know, and we did some research after that to see if we could find an inmate with that name, and we could not find anything to do with Eugene Carter.
Yeah.
He may have just gave us that name for whatever reason, but that's the first time, I think it's the only time, that we actually got like a first and last name of a spirit that we were talking to.
Yeah, that's interesting. That showed up on the recorder, right? But you didn't hear that.
That's correct. Yes,
yeah.
We did that when we got back to listen to the recordings.
I just want to mention we're coming close to the end of the hour. We got about 3 minutes left.
Well, do you have any other salient points of your visit to West Virginia Penn? Anything else?
Just, nothing really jumps out of my mind. It's just, as y'all know, it's just a very, very creepy location. You can just feel the negative energy that has gone on in that place for however long it's been open, for 100 years or so. And it's just when you walk out of there, it's just, you feel like a sigh of relief. It's like, I'm glad I'm out of that.
A relief.
It's very, the outside is very neat, and it's just it was a cool location. And I say that just in,
in ghost hunting terms.
Right. So, we were very fortunate, and we weren't. Some places, some people they spend whole weekends in places, and I know a lot of times the ghost shows. One thing they don't say is that they usually film over a couple of nights. It's not all just one night.
Right. Yeah.
As y'all said, it's a lot of sitting around and with boring time passes, and then you get just a few seconds maybe of something.
Yeah, a little tiny piece of evidence.
A lot of times it doesn't. It's not on command. You can't get stuff like that.
No, they're not performing for us.
No.
Yeah, there's no performing, and we don't treat it like that as well. We also try to be very respectful of where we're at and who we're talking to and that type of thing. But as you said, it's not going to happen, every night. It may not happen maybe once every, month or so, something will happen. But we were very fortunate that we were able to capture something or have some sort of experience in each of the places we went to. Some places are more active than the others. And not to say that, the next night we went in there was just all kinds of stuff going on. So it's just kind of hit and miss sometimes, but we were very fortunate that we were able to witness the things that we did.
Sam, did you get a chance to get into the Sugar Shack?
We did, and we were there for a little while, and just from the reports of what went on in there, and pretty much the guards just kind of left it to the inmates. There was no supervision at all in that area.
I know.
Y'all been in there. There's inmate art on the walls and that type of stuff, and like I said, of all the places in that whole entire prison, that place was that area
the darkest.
There is the darkest, and it's just it was tough to stay in there long.
I bet.
And especially we were in there by ourselves, and it's kind of wet and damp because it's in the basement, and there's puddles of water, and just not a good feeling in there.
No evidence. Did you get any evidence at all?
I don't think we got anything in that actual room, but we did get some, in other parts of the facility.
Yeah, just another creepy feeling.
Myself, I found the infirmary
the
to
worst.
be the most active. It was just like you could feel there was movement and
around
something
you.
all around you and up in the infirmary. Yeah.
Did you get the infirmary, Sam?
Yes, we found that as well. It's just like I said, there's areas that they call hot spots, but then there's places that you may not know of or they don't talk about. And fortunately, Jamie, as I stated earlier, she's more sensitive to stuff. And when we were given a tour, she would always kind of whisper to me, she said, I feel something is here. Let's make sure and come back here tonight. And more times than not, she was spot on, and we were actually able to pick up, some sort of, have some sort of experience, where she said it. It was just like in some random room or something.
Well, to our listeners, there's a total of like 7 states if anybody wants to go ghost hunting and get a hold of the book. And
there's actually 10 locations.
10 locations, but there are 7 different states.
In the book, there's information on who you can contact to set your own investigation up. And and if you're very interested in it, I would tell the audience, it's always cool. You go out and do the same vacation stuff. You go to the beach, the mountains, or go visit historical areas or whatever your thing is. But if you like the paranormal, there's a lot of places around the country that do offer these types of experiences to go on the weekend. You may not catch anything, as we said. It's not on command, but it is a cool experience. And as I said, you got to be in the right mindset if you're going to do that, though.
And Haunted Asylums, Prisons, and Sanatoriums is a great guidebook to do just that.
Okay, and you want to tell people where to get the book, and do you have a website? And
well, actually, we're on Facebook. You can just look us up on Haunted Asylums, Prisons, and Sanatoriums. You can get us on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, pretty much any bookstore. If you can get physical copies actually in Barnes & Noble, but if they don't have it, they'll be happy to order it, and they'll ship it to the store for free. I know Jamie is coming out with another book this fall.
Haunted Hotels.
Called Haunted Hotels.
Great.
And it's through Llewellyn, and we don't have a release date yet, but she did email me and show me that they did have the cover ready. So
Wonderful.
it's getting along, and I think the same the scenario. She's gone. Her and her husband has gone to 10 of the most haunted hotels in the country, and so they actually stay in these places, these haunted rooms, and a lot of the places you've seen on TV.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure it'll be great, and I can't wait to read it when it comes out.
Wonderful.
Yeah, we look forward to that one.
Certainly.
And Sam, we thank you very much for joining us again.
We're at the end of the
Thanks,
show,
Lily
Sam.
and Lynn. I really appreciate it. Y'all been great as always.
Thank you so much, Sam. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good evening.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
All
Y'all
right.
Goodbye.
Thank you, Sam.
Bye-bye.
Have a good night. Bye. Okay, Spirit Radio, the Paranormal Experience, and Craig Mosier with the Graveyard Shift is coming right up.
And thank you, everyone, for listening. Have a good night.